All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live episode of the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner. And of course, I'm your host, retired Army First Sergeant Paul Holbert, and I want to welcome you back to our show that highlights veterans, their experiences, and what they've been doing with their lives, either in military or post-military. And of course, all of our other guests that we have on the show, veteran service organizations, and other veteran support organizations. So we want to highlight those each week. And we've got an interesting show tonight, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But first, I do want to take a moment to thank our two sponsors, Quest Jewelers from Merrifield, Virginia, Pete and Juan Tain at Quest Jewelers. And don't forget, everyone, you're going to see an ad coming up later on that it is Mother's Day. We're only, a few days away. So you still have that time to get that special something for mom. And I tell you, if you go to their website, you're going to find some beautiful stuff. You can also call them on the phone. Tell Pete I said for you to call, and he will hook you up. In fact, he'll give you a discount. So take a look, see what they have, and find that special something. I also want to thank Nationwide IT Services. NIS is a service-disabled veteran-owned small business located right here in Northern Virginia. C.K. Park, a retired Army warrant officer, and his crew have a full crew of veteran professionals who can help your businesses with any of the needs you may have, whether it's professional services, training, IT, security, program management, anything that you may need for your business. CK and his folks can help you with it. So please take a look at them and see if you can find something that you may need help with. All right, so those are our sponsors. I also want to thank the DAV, Disabled American Veterans. I got to tell you, folks, the DAV is a great organization. They're operating all over the country. They're involved in so many different things that to help veterans and their families and survivors. So we want to give a shout out to the DAV. I know my guests tonight are members of the DAV as well as I. So thank you to the DAV, and we hope to be sharing more about them in upcoming shows. So let's get on with tonight's guest. And it's a little unique tonight in that we have first returning guest, Dr. Tina Garcia, who is an Air Force veteran herself. And she was on probably about 3 or 4 shows ago and shared her experiences. And but, you know, the interesting thing about Tina is now Tina is a full-time veteran advocate. So she spends now her full time going out on the road, going to meetings, giving testimony to try and help veterans and their families. So Tina, welcome back to you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank our guests tonight. I have Arlene and Dean Martinez. Arlene and Dean, they've been married, 37 years now?
Correct.
And the interesting thing is Arlene still has a professional career in the banking industry. They have 2 kids, but she's also spent a lot of her time taking care of Dean, who is a disabled veteran and was injured while he was in the Navy. So Arlene and Dean, thank you for joining us this evening as well.
Thank you for having us.
All right. And I also want to welcome Dona and Matt Sornberger. Donna it's kind of interesting. They've been married. I think you said it's about 7 years now. You've been married, and it's interesting because you were an Air Force veteran, if I'm not wrong, right?
That's correct. Medically retired technical sergeant of security forces, and I also served in the Army.
Okay. You say you also served in the Army?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So since you served in the Army, even though you were in the Air Force, you're not too bad of a guy. We'll take that. Tina, no offense to you.
None taken.
But no, so I want to thank both of these couples for coming on the show tonight. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this was not only to share information about the DAV and this group's involvement with the DAV, but you know, I take kind of a personal point to this show because myself being a disabled veteran and my wife having to help me through so much, 3 surgeries, PTSD. I mean, she had her hands full. And ladies, I completely realize that you've had your hands full as well. So, Arlene, I kind of want to start with you and just ask you what did you do? How did you come up with the intestinal fortitude to make it through all of this, with Dean's issues that he was having being a disabled veteran? Share a little bit of that with us if you would.
Sure. Well, faith is one. That's always going to be my go-to to get me through it. Of course, we've been high school sweethearts since we were 16, so been together a long time. We know each other really good. Just knowing, him going off to the military early to take care of his family at an early age,
Yeah.
It was amazing to me that, he went through that and the things he went through during those times in the military, just, and love has a lot to do with it. So.
Yeah. So Donna, does that sound kind of familiar?
Yes. My husband is a lot of ADLs that I'm taking care of 24/7 every day, and the VA granted him the home as a homebound veteran on March 7, 2018, and it's like every day, like like every morning, when I get up, and I always make sure that I help him with his medications. He have like 15 medications that he needs to take every day, and he have 2 TBIs, PTSD, and I dress him, put his shoes on, help him bathe, taking him to his doctor appointments, driving him to his doctor appointments. As you can see, he's blind in his right eye. He cannot see the direction very well, so I have to do that for him, and making sure in every doctor appointment that we're attending, that I'm writing down notes, whatever doctor advice for whatever medications and for his health.
Yeah, so I can understand that. Ladies, I have to tell you, I mean, my hat's off to you and Tina for the work that you're doing with them over there, because I know it's a struggle. I saw my wife struggle through 3 surgeries with me and PTSD, and so I know it's very difficult with what you're doing. But one thing I found in looking at your information, though, that it just boggled me. Now I understand, Matt, you are 100% disabled through the VA, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, but then Arlene, is this still true that Dean is facing all of these issues and gone to the doctor and said that his injuries are service related, but he still has not been rated as service related by the VA?
That is correct. We've been fighting it since 1998, and have been to numerous doctors, specialists, whatever. And yes, it does say it in his records, but they always say service related, but it doesn't have a percentage by it. So it's kind of strange that, you can say it's service related in the medical records, but have a 0 rating. I still don't understand that, but it's taken a long time to get there. And now that we are there, we actually have more confidence now with Tina's help doing this. She has guided us all the way, and I've known Tina for over 15 years. And if it wasn't for her directing us to the right people and DAV to get things done, we probably would still be sitting stagnant, because it came to a point where we both just said, forget it, we'll deal with it later.
Never had one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's so very frustrating, and because I do have I do have one thing on my VA profile. It was a partial hearing loss, and they did that with that too. And I mean, it's not that big of a deal. They said, yeah, it was service related, but it wasn't compensable.
Right.
So, they did the same thing with my hearing loss. Not as serious as what you guys are dealing with, though. So, Tina, what have you been able to do with them in terms of trying to help them through this to get, get Dean what he should have?
Well, thanks for asking. I would just like to say that Dean and Arlene, after knowing them for so long, Dean is a brother that not only inspires me, but the fact that his military records show that he was hit in the head with a damaged brain while on duty. I used to think, I'm Air Force Security Forces, Paul, and I know ground grunts like you and ground grunts like Matt and I. I used to think the Navy, how big of a deal is it for them? Well, let me tell you, to go out on that ship, and Dean's records show that he went through tornadoes, a mast snapped.
Rode Hurricane Hugo, went through Hurricane Hugo.
Hurricanes, yeah.
He went through a hurricane. He went through 2 wars. A mast snapped. His wife is following him. And I have to tell you, I've been pissed off since I've been looking at his records. But I am so grateful to DAV Chapter 7 because they have started. He's at 30%. They promised me that he will be at 100% where he should have been 30 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
30 years ago. And my brother Matt, Security Forces, sharing the screen with me. There's a man that we were trained, Paul, that if you can't solve it, kill it. And you give us hope on this show, Paul. You give us hope. And you writing this story, this book, the best book I have ever read in my life, written by Paul Holbert. Written by Paul Holbert. And let me tell you, it will trigger your PTSD and give you.
Well, that might not be a good thing.
I'll take care of the medication prior to that.
And you know what? These women and the other caregivers that are here, just so you know, Paul, many of the caregivers are now men. My grown son is my caregiver. Yeah. His father is a Vietnam vet. I feel bad for the poor young man, mother and a father, disabled vet with PTSD and brain injuries. But together, that our voices, knowing that collectively we can make a difference and help the legislators make sure that these caregivers are compensated as passed in the budget. So let's do that. Let's do that.
Being a caregiver and having a full-time job it can be tough.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
But we manage and we find a routine that works works to be able to manage all of that and balance it out. So I commend all of those caregivers out there. Don't give up. Keep doing what you're doing because it's great. It'll pay off in the end.
Well, ladies, I have to tell you, I admire you so much for what you're doing because I've talked to veterans who were in rough shape, just like Dean and Matt and myself for a while. And, some of them, their spouses couldn't deal with it. And they were left to fend for themselves. And, I told Tina, and I've told some of our other guests on the show, my wife was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me because, I literally, and Tina, we talked about this, when you're in the military, you're the strong, you're the gung ho, you're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to not feel the pain, and I'm sure you remember that. And I still remember the first time after my foot surgery, when I had to butt crawl up the steps to our tub and my wife had to give me a bath. I cried. Yeah. I couldn't accept it. And I don't know if any of you went through that,
That's every day.
Yeah, I mean,
Final surgeries, I definitely did.
it's difficult, I know, to accept that. And that was difficult for me. And I finally had to accept it. But I have to tell you, it was because my wife convinced me, took care of me, and convinced me that there's nothing wrong with it. And you need the help. I'm here to help you. And I want to help you. So, ladies, like I said, my hat's off to you because I know how much I appreciate my wife doing some of the same things that you ladies are dealing with on a daily basis.
Paul, thanks for sharing that. I would like to say that in my records, and I believe in Dean's, I'm sure in Matt's, from our training, we're listed as fight and flight risk.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of the training, the survival training, we attack. Oftentimes we want to attack. We're good at giving. We're not good at receiving. And I know that when I get really desperate, I spend time with my friend Dean Martinez, who's sharing the screen right here, because I don't know, Dean and I can tell each other, oh, you got to accept care. But has anybody ever noticed that we're really good at giving advice, but taking it is a lot harder?
That's for sure.
Yes. How true.
And your wife, oh my goodness, you talk about an angel.
Yeah, Kim always tells me, she said, and lovingly, she uses the term lovingly, oh man, she said, if I didn't want to be here and I didn't love you, I wouldn't be here.
Oh, she is
So,
awesome.
I mean, and I'm sure you ladies feel the same way.
That does come up every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, and for Matt and Dean, I'm sure that runs through your mind every once in a while when your wife is tired, downtrodden, having to go through so much to help take care of you, because it did with me. And you know, I can't thank Kim enough. I can't thank her enough for all that she's done for me, and I'm sure your wives are doing the same thing for you.
Well,
Absolutely.
Paul, interestingly enough, I don't want to make it sound like, you know, Arlene, well, she will call me from the VA hospital. I've seen that woman switch from angel combat soldier. She's going to take them out. She's like, Tina, you may have to come and protect these people here because Dean is suffering. I mean, he's neck hardware. The screws are broken, and she will turn into a security forces babe in a heartbeat. I bet you Donna can do the same thing.
Years of experience, right, Donna?
It takes a lot of patience and perseverance, and of course, loving so much of our veterans husband that served this nation, bled for this country. So, yeah, thank you so much to Dr. Tina for giving us support and love, and also knowing Arlene and Dean. And also thank you, also Mr. Paul Holbert, sharing also your experience with your wife by taking care of you. Thank you for having us here.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
no,
appreciate
you
so
know,
much.
CC will tell you, I mean, this is what our show is about, and this is what we do. It's for our veterans, it's for their families, it's for the veteran service organizations. And, you know, anytime we can have people on here like yourselves and some of our other veterans and other organizations to get the word out, you know, of course, that's what we want to do. So we're going to take a short break very quickly and get a word from our two wonderful sponsors. And when we come back, we will continue our conversation. So we'll be right back.
Dear Jeffrey, I'm writing to you to remind you that Mother's Day is coming fast upon us. I'm also writing to remind you that your mother and I will have been married 50 years that day. Son, I was window shopping at Quest Fine Jewelers in Fairfax the other day. As you know, Quest Jewelers has been our family jeweler for over 20 years. This year again, Quest Jewelers didn't disappoint. They have so many fine pieces of jewelry and the staff there were so friendly and helpful. The quality and brilliance of Quest jewelry has always made the perfect gift for our family. Son, I found your mother a Mother's Day pendant necklace and a very special 50th wedding anniversary ring I'm sure she'll be very excited about. Let's meet there this Saturday and get the perfect gift for your mom for this Mother's Day. Who knows? Maybe you will find something for your girlfriend, Amy. Quest Fine Jewelers is located at 8431 Lee Highway, Fairfax, Virginia. Their website, www.questjewelers.com. Or you can call them at 703-204-0111.
All right, welcome back, everyone. And you've been watching the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner. And we've been speaking with our guest tonight, veteran advocate, Dr. Tina Garcia, and our other guests, Arlene and Dean Martinez, and Dona and Matt Sornberger. And so we have our veterans here with their spouses who have been their caregivers. And we want to, again, I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough. You guys deserve all the credit in the world, you ladies too, for what you're doing. So I want to know, I understand, the trials and tribulations, if you will, and the issues that you have to deal with. And of course, gentlemen, as veterans, disabled veterans, some of the things that you go through, even though we all have different disabilities. But I want to ask you, and Tina, this may be where you can step in a little bit as well. What are your next steps here, Tina, with the ladies here and what they're dealing with, and with the DAV and ladies? I mean, what would you like to see as well? So, Tina, if you would start, what are your next steps here, and then I want to get to the ladies and find out what it is they're looking for, they're hoping for.
Thank you, Paul. I believe my next step is using Matt and Dean as a crutch. I'm in touch with them almost daily. We're all facing more critical surgery. I am torn between my security forces training that says, if you're not functional, you don't need to be on the planet. So veteran suicide is is an issue that's very near and dear to me. So I rely on Dean and Matt to keep me strong. I know that if I can make it through this next surgery, I am devoted with the leadership and the combat veterans that work at Chapter 7 Colorado DAV. We are working to make sure that the legislature and a bipartisan action has approved paying our caregivers the service-connected disability benefits that the veterans have earned, paying the caregiver directly. That does not diminish or take away from our benefits, but Matt and Donna will tell you they've been struggling with this, and there is an approval process. You have to jump through hoops like you do the disability rating. Mm-hmm. But please make sure, as Kim and I, your wife and I talked, veteran caregiver compensation is a mission for me. I do not want to die without making sure the veteran caregivers are taking care of my service-connected disadvantage, you could call it disadvantage for serving their country. They're disabled. Let me tell you, we're still strong. My hope is we'll use our DAV strong voices and our caregiver, amazing caregivers to speak out and get these legislators quit holding our budget hostage, because if the budget isn't balanced, the VA will be the biggest loser. We need to make sure, my goal is to make sure that together we will get compensation for our caregivers. Paul, when you think about it, if the VA, one of the CFRs, one of the VA rules, enabling rules, requires the VA to pay senior and elder care and disabled care for veterans. Well, at a minimum, the VA is now paying $15,000 to $20,000 a month to put a veteran in a facility. Well, if a caregiver is paid $4,000 a month, the savings to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
Right.
The savings alone will hopefully jar legislators to get off their asses and do what they need to do. And that's what DAV is going to do to help. I mean, let's face it, we're disabled veterans. We're just trying to enforce the contracts that were made to us as veterans for serving our country. We did not fight for ourselves. We fought for our families. Now it's time that we continue to fight.
Yeah, I just saw, and I completely agree. I just saw a breakdown under the latest proposal to, how can I say, the agreement that they want to put in place to raise the debt ceiling. And the Congress is proposing, out of 11% of the budget, 11% of the country's budget, they're proposing to cut 24% of that 11%. And that's where all the agencies are, including the VA. And that's what they're proposing to try to do to raise the debt ceiling. And when I saw that, I said, oh my gosh, I said, not only are a lot of the other organizations going to be hurt, but you can't cut 24% of 11% of the federal budget.
We need to fund that with the fees being paid to the congressmen and the legislature.
Yeah.
That's where it needs to come from. That's where it needs to come from.
So ladies, let me ask you, what are you hoping to see from this as you can, and please don't take this the wrong way. I don't mean that your lives of taking care of your husbands are, maybe you don't see it as a struggle, but I know that you do struggle with trying to manage everything, family, your homes, work, other things like that. So what are you hoping to see moving forward that will help you and help your spouses?
Well, for me, I would say acknowledge my husband that he served in 2 wars. He deserves his benefits before even me as a caregiver. It would be nice as a caregiver to get that, but I want my husband acknowledged first.
Yeah. That still I'm sorry, Don, I was just going to say, that still boggles my mind. I was just completely dumbfounded that they did that. So, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna. What did you want to share?
For me, because I cannot work, I have to take care of my husband. Yeah. If I could get compensated for taking care of my husband for almost 10 years now, and that would really help me and help my husband also, financially, because I cannot work. I have to tend his assisted daily living needs every day, 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, and the interesting thing is, people think, as a 100% disabled veteran, I mean, they do pay you a disability pension, but I mean, if you're still a younger family and you have kids, and things like that. And, Donna, you're in your position work because, your full-time job is taking care of Matt.
Yes.
That pension really doesn't go that far when you don't have other income coming into the house. So, I mean, I can completely understand that.
Thank you.
Well,
So,
in my instance, my husband was getting Social Security and disability, Social Security disability, excuse me, and recently lost that. So it's solely on me. If it wasn't for him going out and doing a part-time job to try to make ends meet, it'd be pretty tough on us. I don't know where we'd be right now, but
yeah, and see, Tina, I'm starting to get like you, Tina. I mean, I'm starting to get pissed off at this kind of stuff.
Well,
To see fellow soldiers or sailors, airmen, whatever you want to call them, who have done things, who've seen things, who've sacrificed, and now they're permanently injured, to have to listen to this kind of nonsense. You're right. As the old expression used to go, it chaps my behind pretty badly.
yeah.
Oh, that's very well said. And I so admire not only these women, but the caregivers like my son, who has a double master's degree, who's finishing up a postgraduate, and having to be 100% worried about me and my surgeries and who I'm going to, am I going to get in more trouble? Because I go up to the VA with the soldier, Paul, and I'll throw down my business card with the security forces emblem on it. And I'll remember that my daughter, Angela Barnado, served as an infant beside me. I will remember that I don't need to be arrested for telling the VA, you know what, you trained me, VA. You either approve this veteran's benefits or call the police, because it's going to get ugly.
Yeah.
It's going to get ugly. Look at Arlene laughing. She knows.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tina, having met you in person and seen you to be, no offense, but the tiny lady that you are up there making big noises. Yeah, you're making some big noise for a tiny lady, let me tell you.
dynamite comes in small packages.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Paul, meeting you, I mean, a tiny lady, how about Kim sitting across the table from me saying, hey, look, I want a voice. I'd like to have a voice at the table to know what I've been through. Yeah. I mean, literally, when I stop and think about it, I can see where the VA did. I learned when I was testifying in Congress, there are 74,000 unfilled positions at the VA.
Yes.
I'm bitching about, hey, why can't we get appointments? Then I learned 2 days ago from my doctor that said, Tina, the people that are hired by the VA are making less money than people that work at Starbucks. That is very troubling to me. I just think that collectively, Paul, you are helping people like us get the word out. Try to get other veterans say, you know what, I write my check to the DAV, but I don't attend the meetings. Attend the meetings. Do like Matt has done to inspire me at Chapter 7, Colorado, to speak out. Having Donna beside, you want to see a tiny little chihuahua. Donna is a chihuahua.
She's super tough. She's assisted in medical procedures. She's been certified by 2 doctors in the Philippines. She knows how to do AED. She saved my life 3 or 4 different times on giving me emergency oxygen, AED. She assisted in just recently on April 7th, I had a medical issue where my intestines actually came out of my rectum, to be quite frank. And we went to Aurora South after I tried to push them back in myself, and they didn't have enough staff on hand. So they actually had her put a glove on and put the rest of my intestine back in. So
Oh, my
she's
goodness.
super tough,
Wow.
super qualified, and Tina, Dean, myself, and including you, Paul, we've all prepaid for this to happen and to have our caregivers compensated. I believe that our service has prepaid for that, and that this is something that we shouldn't have to go through all these hoops and continue to jump through them, etc. But I would build some value on what Tina said as far as the DAV. That is without a doubt the best way to approach this. Attend the meetings, join the DAV, find a good service officer, and that will make things start to happen. You cannot use the VA against the VA. That's a huge mistake that too many veterans make. Using the patient advocacy of the VA against the VA will never work. However, the service officers through the DAV, especially Chapter 7, are the greatest resource, and one of the greatest resources we have as far as a voice and getting things done. Getting people taken care of that haven't been taken care of in 30 years, etc., and starting that process and getting them to where they need to be.
I agree.
Yeah, go ahead. Were you going to say something, Arlene?
Oh, I just 100% agree that DAV is the way to go. I mean, we tried it all on our own this whole time and it's got nowhere. Now that we've been, introduced to the DAV through Tina and Donna and Matt, we feel like they're hearing our voice now. They're moving along. We got appointments immediately. We're hoping that the disability is going to start working in our favor, but it's moving faster than what it was 15 years ago for us when we started.
Yeah, it's
Paul, I would just like to say that kind of piggybacking on what I just heard from these remarkable folks is that we as veterans entered into a contract with our country, and the VA, their entire Rules Enabling Act, the VA's mission is to fulfill the contract. If a veteran has service-connected disabilities, then the veteran has already fulfilled their end of the contract. And the VA, we should not have to beg or defend or put guns in our mouth out of frustration and pain and having to be a burden to our wives, our sons, our daughters. I watched my sisters years ago, before I became involved with the DAV in Virginia, caring for my father, 101st Airborne, one leg, ornery as they come, Manassas, Virginia legend, my father was. And my sisters, the angels that they were, took him to his VA appointments, but they weren't, and I wasn't there. They weren't as, I don't want to say seasoned as Donna and Arlene are, learning the system. So I appreciate what Dean and Matt and you are saying, Paul, and that is veterans, we have an ego. It's hard to get over ourselves. Yep. Matt was telling me today, Tina, if you have to take a narcotic, take it. Get your ego out of the way. Survive for us. Survive for your Air Force security forces. Background training. Survive for my guys that I'm working, women and men, at a local veterans, very, very impressive organization. We will survive for each other. We will survive for each other. And Paul, I owe Kim a hug and an incredible sense of gratitude for us to even have the conversation because, I mean, let's face it, you and I want to talk about, hey, our soldier things. But when, like in my case, my spinal instability, the spine is now, in my cervical hardware, the same as Dean, is now pushing into the base of my brain. That is a pain.
Yeah.
That is a pain that wants me to just exit the planet. But I'm inspired. I'm inspired to be here for the mission. Caregiver compensation is a right that we have earned. Veterans should not have to defend it.
Yeah.
We will take our guns out of our mouth so that our voices can be heard together.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, as we wrap up, Tina and Arlene and Dean and Matt and Donna, this has been a really good show, and it's going by pretty quick. But we've been able to talk about some pretty serious issues here. And as I wrap up, before I wrap up the show with the audience, I just want to thank each of you for taking the time to come on here. Tina for coming on again and helping us with the conversation. And ladies, Arlene, Donna, for what you're doing for your veteran husbands. I mean, you deserve much admiration, just the way I admire my wife for what she did and how she helps me. So, I'm going to thank you personally.
Thank you.
Just like I did, I thank my wife for helping me through so much. And Tina, I want to thank you for coming back on. And I'm going to ask you, if you will, don't hang up the computer quite yet. Don't hang up the computer quite yet. Because after I wrap up the show, I'm going to bring you back up behind stage for just a moment. So thank you all for coming back on. And I'm sorry for coming on, Tina, for you coming back. And I hope to be talking to you some more in the future, Tina, especially you. And we'll see what happens from here. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
us.
much for having us.
All right. And for the audience out there, again, you've been watching the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner. I wanted to share a little info. There's been so much in the news lately about mesothelioma and veterans suffering from various types of cancers. The issue going on in the Marine Corps at Camp Lejeune and some other places. So if you know a veteran out there that may need help, they've been diagnosed with various types of cancers, there's some help out there. There's a webpage right here, Veterans Needing Help with Mesothelioma. You will find some veteran-specific information there. Please, whatever you do, don't wait, just like our guests were talking about. Veterans, if you were injured while you were on the time, you need to make sure that you get what you deserve to help take care of you and your family. I also want to remind everyone about our caregiver support line. As the ladies here on the show have so honorably represented being a caregiver to a disabled veteran, there's a national caregiver support line down at the bottom of the screen. So if you know someone who could use the help, if you just want to find out how you can help, dial the number and ask them what you can do, the National Caregiver Support Line. So for you veterans out there, we want to thank you for your service, for your families. Thank you for your service in supporting that veteran. And we want to wish all of you a wonderful week coming up. And we hope to see you on our next show.